So, again, what are we investigating? So, we will investigate how BMI is associated with coronary heart disease. If you have a background in healthcare, you are probably familiar with THD, but I'll provide a brief overview for the broader audience in the channel that is less familiar with the concept. So, coronary heart disease is a term used to describe a state in which the coronary arteries, so you can see here, these are the coronary arteries, the right coronary artery and the left, the branch of the coronary artery. They are unable to supply oxygen-rich blood to the heart muscle, which is the myocardium. You can see this pinky, beautiful structure, which is the myocardium. And so in this state, the heart is unable to supply oxygen-rich blood because of the buildup of fatty substances. You can see these yellow substances are narrowing the way of blood within this artery. But also it may be two reasons like vasospasm, so like the artery is constricted for several reasons. And so like this pipe is not able to supply the myocardium, and as a consequence, the myocardium is not able to pump um, deoxygenated blood to your lungs and oxygenated blood to your body. And you can imagine why this could be problematic. So there is this mismatch on oxygen demand and supply to myocardium. And so I'm not going to talk more about it. There are plenty of resources covering coronary heart disease that you can go and read. I also provide here in the website. I just want to answer like why BMI, why we're looking into BMI as a potential factor and not any other. So there is a rising prevalence of obesity, first of all, and this prevalence is expected to increase the burden of cardiovascular disease among populations across the world. But there's also this so-called obesity paradox that suggests that overweight or mildly obese patients may have better survival after a heart disease event than those in normal weight range. So there is a need for further research to clarify the associations between BMI and coronary heart disease and to examine how this relationship is shaped by sociodemographic factors. Now let's talk a little bit about the odds ratio. So the logistic model estimates the odds of an event, such as the odds of coronary heart disease status in the exposed group relative to the unexposed group. So for example, if the probability of baseline coronary heart disease in men is 0.30, then the probability of non-coronary heart disease will be 1 minus p, which will be equal to 0.70. So the odds of baseline coronary heart disease in men will be therefore 0.30 divided by 0.70, which will be 0.43. Similarly, if the probability of baseline coronary heart disease in women is 0.20, then the probability of the coronary heart disease will be 1 minus p, which would be 0.80. And the odds of coronary heart disease in women then will be 0.20 divided by 0.80, which will be 0.25. Then the odds ratio for baseline coronary heart disease in men compared with women will be 0.43 divided by 0.25, which will be 1.71, meaning that the odds of baseline coronary heart disease are higher in men. So the key interpretation is that an odds ratio above 1 means increased odds. Odds ratio equal to 1 means no difference in odds, and odds ratio below 1 means decreased odds. Um, yeah, now let's see our plot. So now we have our predicted probabilities plotted. So we can see that holding all other variables constant, the predicted probability of coronary heart disease increases with center BMI and remains consistently higher for men compared to women. So at a center BMI value of 30 units above the mean, the predicted probability is approximately 13% for men. So you can see this is the mean 0, and this is 30 units above the mean. Again, this is not the real value of BMI. We are now, because we have centered this. So 0 actually signifies, I think, 28.85, which is the mean, and 30 signifies, I think, 56, which is the maximum BMI in our data set. So these are 30 units above the mean. And so we can say that, yeah, the predicted probability is approximately 30% for men compared to 5%. See 5% in the blue line for women. So these results are actually consistent with the literature suggesting that men have an overall increased risk for coronary heart disease compared to women. And this is explained by several like biological factors, such as like some cardioprotective effects of estrogen in women, in premenopausal women, and the greater visceral fat accumulation in men, especially in the abdominal area. And together with an earlier rise in low density lipoprotein cholesterol in men, and a higher prevalence of risky lifestyle factors like smoking, yeah, among men when compared to women. So all these factors, contribute to a higher prevalence of CHD men when compared to women.